Texas has been at the forefront of leadership, and I believe heads the Immigration Task Force for Congressional Black Caucus, and has been a wonderful ally and an advocate here in Congress. This very important, critical issue of immigration reform. Welcome, and if there's any comments, opening comments, or questions you might have, it's the opportunity.
Chairman, my special thanks and appreciation to you for bringing me into a room filled with families who seek only to have justice and opportunity and to be part of this great nation. This is a great country. This is a country that was founded with the tenacity of immigrants coming from all around the world. I just left a hearing, and I apologize for my tardiness, on human rights. And I have come into another room on human rights. Just in the last 24 hours, we had a committee hearing in the Judiciary. I served on Homeland Security and on the Judiciary Committee, and served previously as a ranking member of the Immigration Subcommittee. I've lived through a lot of no's and a lot of attempts to pass comprehensive immigration reform. And I see what the confusion is. There is not an understanding of the distinction of people who are here paying taxes and working and simply trying to provide for their families. So I want to say to Matthew and Heidi, thank you for being here. And thank you for being the light that we need on this issue. May I ask Matthew how long you have been here in this country? Or were you born here?
I was born here.
You were born here, okay. You're 11, right? That's 11 years. So you have human rights and civil rights. You have constitutional rights. Do you not? And Heidi, how long have you?
Well, I've been here since I was born.
You were born here as well. And your parents were not, or your mom was not?
My parents weren't born here. They were born in Mexico.
And Matthew? Your parents?
They were born in Mexico.
Okay. But they came here for an opportunity. So let me say something that sounds like I'm asking you a question that's difficult, but just look in your heart and answer it for me, please. Because I think if you answer it, you will say and give the answer to the world. Matthew, are immigrants bad? Are your parents bad? Can you explain what your parents mean to you? And they are immigrants. Can you explain in your words what is an immigrant?
For me, what's an immigrant? An immigrant is a person that comes from different places and they come over to do something like work and a family so they can have a better life.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
Heidi?
An immigrant means to me a person that wants to change their life around, turn to the good side, work, bring food to the table, and provide food to the children. My parents, they're not, immigrants aren't mean to me or bad to me. Immigrants are people who want to change their life around, who want to be far away from gangs, far away from drugs, far away from alcohol, everything that's bad on the list. People who want to change their lives, take really good care of their children, and who want their children to get a college degree, a high school degree, a university degree, and work as a doctor, dentist, whatever is possible, so that they can provide their own family and choose what's right for them. And that's what I think an immigrant is to me.
And are you around? Are you around a lot of people like that?
Around
A lot of people like that. Mr. Chairman, I asked that question, and let me acknowledge my manners to thank the Congressional Progressive Caucus and your leadership and the members who are here, because we had a hearing where there was confusion about the need for legalization of the 12 million persons that are here. Mr. Chairman, our hearing fell around commentary from our friends on the other side of the aisle on the smugglers and drug runners and others. And I have to ask the question, is anyone here promoting any activity such as that? As I understand it, we're talking about making things right, human rights and human dignity. So I want to ask Ms. Russell, and I know I've got it, and looking at, trying to see the last name, but you've got it blocked. Sriharsa, thank you. Let me ask this question. We're in the throngs of working hard to pass comprehensive immigration reform. The crux of the legislation really goes to legalizing those who are already here. There's a lot of other things about border security, and we know that we're doing the right thing. But I want to get to the crux that impacts these children. And that is the idea of the rights of people who are vested in a country, who are paying their taxes, and are simply asking for a process of legalization. We many times think that this is a handout. Can you explain the distinction of this process, if you reviewed this process, versus the naughty word that they want to use frequently, which is the word amnesty? Would you want to share the distinction or the importance of legalizing those that are here in this country, working hard, paying taxes? If any of you want to take a stab at that.
Well, I think we know from what we've heard from these amazing young activists that we now live in a society where children and adults are scared walking down the street, going to school and to the grocery store and any other place. And I think
doing normal things.
Doing normal things, exactly. And for the number of people who are here, we really have no other option but to turn to comprehensive immigration reform. Now, I don't think anybody's suggesting a process of that ugly word that you mentioned, amnesty. I think all of the proposals that we have reviewed have fees associated with them, a process in which people who were here undocumented would be at the back of the line and wait for other people who are in process to go through and legalize and through the mechanisms that are already in place. And I think that's the right thing to do. There's going to be a process in which people's criminal history is investigated. There are going to be penalties to be paid. But ultimately, we can't continue along this path. So we have no other choice. And the process of legalization and the proposals that exist right now are really an opportunity to, if we can do it this year, allow that mechanism to start before we continue to have these disastrous consequences of immigration enforcement on its own independently.
Mr. Chairman, I had to ask that question as I conclude. I want to leave.
Well, I just want to say that whatever we do, we need to discourage the involuntary separations of children and parents and families. Moving forward, that has to be essential.
That is not humane, and that certainly is a violation of human rights.
Right.
Let us make that very clear. And raids are
And it's like
atrocious. They're atrocious. As I conclude, Mr. Chairman, I rushed here because you might not be aware that one of my state representatives in Texas has just proclaimed that they will introduce, they're so enthusiastic and overwhelmed by the rightness of the Arizona law, that they believe that they will introduce that to the state legislature in the state of Texas. I think the importance of this hearing today, Congressman Polis, Congressman Woolsey, is that a potential epidemic is awry if we do not get in the gap. I want to give you some good news. So, Mr. Chairman, the hearing we had yesterday was with the clergy. And one of the clergy was from my hometown and announced that as soon as clergy that represented Republicans, Democrats, Hispanics, Anglos, Asians, African Americans heard about it, they gathered with a press conference and said, "Not on my watch." And so I'm excited about the fact that we have a fight going on in Texas. We may have to call you down. But I think the important point that is being made here today is that while you're holding this hearing, there are other states around the nation that are thinking that they can pass in the next legislative session laws like the legislative action in Arizona that denies the human rights